I have been seeing a lot of criticisms about Chainsaw Man Part 2 because I believe the last and final chapter that is coming out is literally 2 weeks from now. And people are saying there's so many story beats that got unresolved. What about the Blood Devil? What about this? What about that? Everything in the story is messed up. This is stupid. And I'm going to say this with my whole chest. I think you don't understand Chainsaw Man. I have been following Fujimoto ever since I accidentally read Fire Punch because people kept telling me to read Fire Punch. Chainsaw Man wasn't even out yet, but I accidentally read Fire Punch, and then I decided to not touch anything he made with a 10-foot pole because that story messed me up a little bit. And then I discovered all of his other one-shots, and I read all of his one-shots. I read all of his one-shots, and they were all insane. They are just psychotic pieces of fiction over and over again. Every single thing he has written has been a psychotic, disgusting, wild, wacky piece of fiction, and not a single thing he makes, I don't even think it has a greater purpose or story or narrative drive. I think he's just messing with people. I think he's really just messing with people all the time whenever Fujimoto makes anything. And thus I will now read some of the criticisms from my phone. The moral of Chainsaw Man is that victims will never get better and they will live in the shadow of their abuser for the rest of their short life and will eventually die from heart disease. Oh, that's the whole thing. What a complete waste of a story. Even if it gets a part 3, the fact that it's been over 200 chapters and no forward progress makes me not even want to touch it. I'm enjoying I'm not gonna lie to you, some of the hate is actually kind of funny. It's making me laugh a little bit. I think Chainsaw Man Part 2 makes a lot more sense when you read through it, knowing that Denji himself is not a good person. I'm just going to point this out. I feel as though we are not witnessing I feel like when you write a realistic character that isn't just... I think it's this, right? The average person hates when a character is realistic, when they actually match narrative beats that somebody with mistakes might make, because over time people expect someone to make mistakes to actually grow from those mistakes. But when a character doesn't grow from those mistakes, they say, well, what's the point of the story? Brother, that's people. Most people don't grow from mistakes, actually. You don't make a mistake and then grow from it all the time. Well, why wouldn't you want to heal? I feel as though everybody that is a big anime fan, a lot of people, especially ones that do analytical stuff of that variety, they are looking at characters as archetypes as opposed to people. Denji, this is what I enjoy about Denji. Denji is a person. I think the anger misses the strange philosophical engine that has been running under the series since chapter 1. Denji has never been a heroic figure. He's not a hero. He's marching towards nothing. He's not looking to go get enlightened or redeemed. His first big goal was to, I wish a girl would hug me. Okay, well, you can get that. Well, I wish I could touch chest, I guess, or get a kiss, maybe. I don't know. Denji is a character trapped inside the hedonic treadmill, constantly chasing the next thrill because the previous thrill immediately dissolves into emptiness the moment he reaches it. The boy wanted bread. Then he wanted jam on bread. Then he wanted a girlfriend. Then he wanted 10 girlfriends. Then he wanted fame. Then he wanted validation. The second he reaches one desire, another one sprouts out the ground like a weed. And that contract he made with Pochita, that contract where, show me your dream, Denji. That's the contract I have for you. What is his dream? He doesn't have one. He just keeps finding new things. The entire story is a treadmill made of desire and blood and viscera when Denji keeps running while never actually arriving anywhere. That's the entire theme of the story. His actions have consequences. He literally said after he lost everything, I just want to be a dog, at the end of Chainsaw Man Part 1. That's the whole thing. He just continually keeps losing and winning and losing and winning, but it's not even wins. The shape of the story fits perfectly with the old country mouse and city mouse fable, where one mouse experiences the excitement and danger of the city while the other mouse prefers the quiet safety of the countryside. Denji is a city mouse. Every single time, choosing chaos and stimulation, and because normal life is unbearably empty. When Reze was saying, oh yeah, I would rather be a country mouse, Denji was like, what? But the city's so cool, why would you do that? The quiet happiness he occasionally touches never holds his attention for long because his brain is wired for catastrophe and adrenaline. And the moment life becomes calm, he begins craving something louder, messier, and more destructive. Happiness keeps becoming boring while suffering becomes more interesting. It's a deeply uncomfortable psychological loop that the series does not sugarcoat. And people are like this. This is how a lot of people are. This is how gambling addicts work. This is how it works. Denji is an addict, and it's a sad thing to witness. It's sad. Why do you want a moral story where he actually breaks free from this? What if nothing happens? Have you considered that? Have you considered that he just messes up? So you know what happened? The addiction did something that addictions don't do in real life, and the addiction destroyed itself. I'll explain. Do you guys remember when Kishibe said that Denji would be a perfect devil hunter because he's crazy, right? Denji fuels himself on the madness of the world. Horrible situations appear and Denji runs straight into them, very happy because he loves the pain and the chaos. He said, and I remember this, he said, when we fight against mind control enemies, we put our chainsaws to our head and then rip the chainsaws to reorganize our brain. The boy never stops to reflect on the damage piling up around him because reflection will require slowing down, and slowing down will require him to confront the emptiness that the hedonic treadmill keeps hidden. The entire narrative becomes a portrait of a person who wants everything without understanding what anything actually means. Pochita leaving the story is so important because it's someone walking away from addiction, but the addiction is actually the thing that is walking away from itself. Imagine the thing you rely on most suddenly stepping aside because it wants you to grow beyond it. That's what it is. It doesn't stop loving you. It loves you enough to disappear. Pochita functioned as the emotional stabilizer that allowed Denji to survive the worst parts of his life. And once that stabilizer steps away, the character is forced to confront himself without the comforting safety net. That departure is so important. I think the audience reaction reveals just this other fascinating layer because many viewers expected a tidy emotional resolution where the protagonist learns a clear moral lesson and the suffering resolves into a neat philosophical package. You know what happens a lot of time? A lot of people say, oh, this Disney ending, oh goodness, this is so ridiculous. I can't believe that we got a good resolution. And a lot of times people don't want good resolutions, but when you finally get a story that has a horrifying resolution, people say, oh, that's what it is. People love happy stories. People like the idea of suffering. The simulation of suffering is what people are obsessed with. When people get to simulate suffering, but they don't want actual suffering. And that expectation makes sense in a traditional storytelling where heroes conquer demons and emerge with newfound wisdom. Chainsaw Man never promised that structure in the first place. This is the same series that introduced a predator Santa Claus. Right? This is the same guy who made Fire Punch, a manga famous for its bleak cannibalism. And I don't want to get into Chainsaw. I don't want to get into Fire Punch right now. I think readers often search for a deep moral clarity because stories usually function as emotional instruction manuals about how to live better lives. That's how people view the Bible. That's how people view Dragon Ball Z, Naruto. They view these like that. When the narrative refuses to provide that clarity, it creates frustration because the audience keeps reaching for meaning that refuses to settle into place. You're just like Denji. You're just like Denji, because you're looking for something that really doesn't exist. The idea of the story might not contain a neat philosophical lesson feels uncomfortable because people instinctively want narratives to reward suffering with understanding. That's not how the real world works. Sometimes a story simply observes human behavior without delivering a clean conclusion about it. That's life. Imagine that. And this obsession with heroic triumph also creates this weird confusion with me because the series never established Denji as even close to a hero. Denji is impulsive, messy, selfish, occasionally compassionate, and frequently lost in his own desires. He's just a wandering human. He's not some mythic protagonist that's gonna be. He's like a 15-year-old. You ever hear like a 16-year-old kid in an anime or manga say some wild wisdom that only like a 30-year-old would ever come up with, and you're saying, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I would never come to that conclusion on my own. Of course you wouldn't, because you're not smart. But outside of that, Denji is not coming to some wild, crazy, mythic conclusions. He's just a guy. Heroes usually grow stronger through adversity, and Denji does not grow stronger. He just is kind of there. He just is a little more equipped by himself. That's what it is. There's no clarity. That's what it is. He's just reflecting a chaotic world where demons exist both literally and metaphorically, while ordinary people have to deal with the consequences. When someone dies in Chainsaw Man, they are dead. It's like they're dead. They're gone. And when they do come back, they're brainwashed or controlled or manipulated. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's the reality of it. That's it. That's Chainsaw Man. I'll make a longer video about this, but I want to talk about the drama because people are mad about the ending. And I also don't think the series is actually ending right now because they're saying to be continued instead of final chapter, but who knows? Say lovey. What is love? What is life? Who cares? Have a lovely day or night wherever you're at, and I'm out. Peace. Bye.
Good night, be my loyal slow. Happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. I love the ride when you